Hello, Victini video. Today we're gonna take a look at honestly my favorite team so far for this meta. It might not be the best team in total, but I went 15-8 with this team, which is quite mad if you consider that we are running triple mythical Pokemon in the Remix Cup. And honestly, I just want to have some fun, and I did not really expect that anything would work out here, but this team does make sense on paper. And this team was way better than I expected. And I want to kind of showcase already, like before, we already showcased the Mew saying that this is one of the best face-ups. I still stand by this, most likely the best face-up for this meta, because there's nothing that can swap into it other than Guzzlord. And not a lot of people have this in the bag right now. And as you can see already, we're going to be able to align ourselves. But also, the Pokemon that surprised me the most is honestly Melmetal. This Pokemon is insane, like literally, I just don't know why it's so good. Like, it is still bulky enough to withstand a move here from the opponent, for example, and you have the best coverage on this meta here right now, which is absolutely wild. Also, what was kind of wild was Confusion Victini, a Pokemon that I also was unsure if I wanted to run like this, because usually Quick Attack is better, but I was looking at the meta, I was like, I feel like Confusion is better, and I was most likely right with this. I definitely don't regret it, and I also don't regret changing the second charge move to a Focus Blast. Spoiler alert, you're going to see at least one of them landing here today, so stay tuned for the video. Also, if you enjoy this type of videos, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, would really appreciate it, as you're going to encounter here an Empoleon in the lead. One thing that I learned here today as well is that you lose CMP tie with Melmetal against Empoleon, something that I did not know. Also, you should most likely not go ahead and go for the superpower against something like a Gligar, Rock Slide will be neutral, and usually it doesn't really matter because Surf was at least, well I thought at least, would be enough to knock them out here, but it is not because I guess the damage that we did not get because we went for the resisted move kinda hurt us here. But we're gonna be 2 shields down now, we're going to have a lot less health on our Mew as well, as they barely get to another dig, which is really unfortunate for us. But maybe there is still a win con for this battle. In comes the Empoleon. We can maybe go for 2 zeros, hopefully getting 2 times the shield from the opponent, and yes, we can actually reach another move. And if they're going to decide to use a shield here, this might be kinda great for me, and yes they do, and I can go straight for my superpower, forcing a knockout against them immediately. I can swap out immediately as well, and they're going to have in the back the Annihilape. Because I swapped out immediately, I'm not going to be able to reach the V-Crate because, yeah, I took 1 extra turn for swapping, but I at least got the damage onto them. And the damage is really important because now they actually should be in range for 1 Rock Slide from our Melmetal, and they are. Good game there. We move on to the next opponent. I played basically an entire day today with this team, by the way. Like, as you saw in the beginning, it was 23 battles total that I did with this team. And of course, not all of the battles are going to be in here because, yeah, we kind of want to have a video around 14 to 15 minutes because I feel like it's kind of the sweet spot to showcase those teams. But anyway, we're going to have here a pretty horrible lead for us with the, Poliwrath. I stayed in for a little bit, allowing us to get some damage onto them. And now we can go ahead and go for a Surf against the opponent. This is going to be able to knock them out, and we can align ourselves as they're going to go into a Mantine. I tried to go for the bait, not too sure if this was a smart move here. Let's find out if they decide to use a shield. They do not use a shield, which was kinda mad to me, but I can still reach a wild charge, so I'm totally okay with that, as we're actually going to be able to knock them out. 2 shield Victini against the Annihilape is just so lovely, and again, like, it was definitely the right call to go ahead and go for the Confusion on Victini. For sure the best play to go for. If you want now why I did swap out here, because I know that I can put them into range with the Thunder Shock here to put them into 2 Confusion range, and as we have 2 shields left, it doesn't matter what they go for, we win this game quite easily. Next opponent, we're going to have a Mantine in the lead. Honestly, like, so many Mantines in the lead currently in the meta, which is just so lovely for our lead. We're going to get out the Gligar, and if you swap out quite early, the opponent will never be able to go for the dig against you, basically, if you swap out immediately, basically. You cannot ever get the dig onto you if you're just going to use your shields. If they go for the Aerial Ace bait, they're always only going to get to another Aerial Ace before you can go for another charge move, because you basically pace the exact same towards your own first charge move here compared to Aerial Ace. with the Surf, so it's going to be kind of great for us. They're going to go for the Dig now. I don't really care too much about it. We can go for the full farm down, and if they want to go back into the Mantine, they can eat a Wild Charge here, as this would take them out for sure. So let's see what they're going to want to do for here. They want to go ahead and use the shield, and honestly, I make a little bit of a mistake here. I should go into my Victini now. Why? Because they guarantee swap out, and yes, they do, and it's going to be the Annihilape in the back. And sadly, I was a little bit slower this time around, where they got 2 counters in, and so they're going to be able to knock me out before I get the extra confusion damage in. And this is going to matter quite a bit, which you're going to see here, as we are not going to be able to knock them out with the Rock Slide, and they're going to be able to reach another Night Sash here, which is going to get us quite low. So I could have predicted this because this team is quite common here, but it is what it is. We can move on to the next opponent. Feraligatr. Feraligatr is actually a Pokemon that's quite difficult to deal with for this team, but actually in the lead it's kind of okay, because what you can do is, while you lose CMP tie, I think, against this Pokemon, you can go for 1 Rock Slide first. You do still super effective damage with your fast move, and if you go for double superpower afterwards, you're going to outspeed them, because the second superpower always needs a 1 less fast move compared to the first one, and so you can basically save up 1 extra fast move, which is going to allow you to just not have to go for a CMP tie, which is kind of nice. But here the opponent lets the move go through anyway, and so I can snipe them with my Mew, getting some energy, and as I go into a Gligar, I am quite loving this matchup. We're going to have the super effective Surf against them, and so we can just hit them quite hard. They will be able to align themselves if they want to, but only if they use a shield, which is quite nice. They're going to go for a Dig. I can overfarm by a little bit as well here. 2, 3 fast moves in. I can go for the Surf. This was a CMP tie, which is quite nice for me as well. They decide to let the move go through, and they're going to have in the back the Annihilape. This can be a little bit tricky, as they're going to get some extra energy in, but we can go for a Wild Charge, forcing the final shield from the opponent, swapping into the Victini. We have to try to catch a move here, and we can catch a move, which is so important for us as well, as it's going to be that Shadow Ball. We can now go ahead, go for a free recreate, and we can say goodbye to the opponent, winning this game quite easily, and we can move on to the next one. Melmetal against Toxapex. This is quite a decent lead for us. We're going to double resist the fast move while we do super effective damage. And here's the cool thing about Melmetal. Melmetal is kind of like a Deoxys defense light, because you can just go for the super hard hitting debuffing move quite fast and then swap out if you win the lead, which is actually something that happens quite often. It's just like so lovely to do. And here we're going to see Superior has nothing to do against our Victini. Because we're running the Step Confusion, we do also way more damage compared to Quick Attack, so we don't even have to go for a charge move now. If they go back into their Toxapex, we can still go for 2 V-Creates, which are going to get them low. But again, we're not going to do too much damage because we're not running Psychic on this Pokemon. But I don't really mind it, because again, we're going to have great matchups still against the Toxapex. We still have Wild Charge, but they're going to have a Quagsire. Quagsire is very tricky for my backline to deal with, and also for my lead here quite as well. But we can still swap out into the Mew, and this is kind of a neutral matchup. And after we were able to hit another superpower, they're going to be in range for Surf. And they let the move go through, and I'm like, why do they do this? I don't really understand why they do this. It is not really making too much sense in my opinion, but I will take it, because now I can just go ahead and go for the full farm run against the opponent. Another Awkward Tail is coming through, and we can see here that we're going to be able to take another hit. Awkward Tail going to be able to get us low. We can go for the bait here, which is kind of silly. We should have not done this. We should have went ahead and went for a Wild Charge, but it is not really mattering at all, because you can see here as well, Brian is barely doing any damage against us, and so we can easily win the game as the opponent decides to forfeit this one. Manboss in lead, a lovely lead for us. I think we actually lose in the zero shield scenario, but we should be able to win this in any other shield scenario, just because 1 Rock Slide, or like 2 Rock Slides plus the Thunder Shock damage is just barely not enough in the zero shields, but it's going to be enough in the 2 or like 1 shield scenario, just because you're going to be able to Thunder Shock them down, which is quite nice, because you're always going to leave with a lot of energy, which is always kind of lovely. Here, as we gotta see, the Rock Slide is not going to be enough. I'm not going to catch any move here, because Dark is kind of awkward for our backline, and so Dark Pulse is going to get shielded, and I'm fairly certain this is going to be just the area at Ace, and so I have to let this move go through. I cannot go 2 shields down. I was correct with this call. We have to see what they're going to go into. They're going to go into a Magna Zone. Maybe I should have baited here, but if we still have another fast move here, we're going to be fine. I swap out into my Mew, trying to get some damage onto the opponent, as I can go for that Surf. Surf is going to be able to get the final shield, and so we're going to be actually in a very decent spot. At least that's what I thought. and so I'll let the move go through. If they debuff themselves, which they do here, Confusion should hopefully pick up the knockout, even though it's resisted. As you're gonna see here, we do a ton of damage, but they go for the Mirror Shot bait, and they barely can still get to another Wild Charge, which is going to knock us out. If I went straight for my Melmetal and go for a Super Power, I would have been able to just knock them out here, which is kind of silly by me, but let's move on to the next opponent. We're going to have here the Annihilape in the lead, which is going to be pretty bad for us, but we can swap out into our Mew. I decide to use a shield on the super effective Night Slash, and they decide to retaliate with an Empoleon. I'm gonna go for the bait. I'm not too sure if this is going to work out for us, but we will find out very shortly as the opponent decides to go ahead and go for their own charge move after they use the shield, and I can still barely survive with this 1 HP in a dream on our Mew, allowing us to go for a wild charge and force the final shield. Now we have a shield advantage, and a shield advantage is quite decent for us. They decide to go for the CMP tie here, and they win the CMP tie, which I didn't know before I did this battle, and so they can get off the Hydrocan no matter what. I tried to undercharge a little bit, but this is still gonna do too much damage, and so I'm forced to swap out here. In comes the Diogong, and you see my moveset, and I expect that the opponent goes for a bait here because I kinda have to, but I kinda still I'm forced to use a shield here because the super effective drill one would do hurt like quite a bit. But as you can see, we can still go ahead and go for a huge boom here with the Focus Blast, knocking out the Diogong. In comes the Annihilape, and I just have to hope and pray that one Night Slash is not going to be enough. It is not, and so V-Crate is coming through. It's going to be debuffed, but it doesn't matter because boom, the opponent goes down. Yeah, as said before, we're going to have a little bit of an issue with our backline, at least with the Lord, but it is not too bad for our lead, but it's also not too great for our lead either. The issue is here that a superpower would nearly one-shot them actually, which is quite nice, but you don't really want to debuff yourself. They're going to go for a crunch, which is of course the play that you would most likely expect. In hindsight, I most likely should have used the shield here to be fair onto the crunch because it's a guaranteed crunch and not like a Dragon Claw bait, which you're going to have to use a shield on now. But what I kind of want to do now is, I kind of want to get rid of the final shield, because I expect that one wild charge is most likely enough from this range to knock them out, or even a recreate. But let's take a look here, the opponent goes for a charge move, hopefully it's a crunch. It is not, it's Dragon Claw, but we can still overfarm by a little bit, go for the wild charge now, and this is gonna do massive damage. It's going to be enough to knock them out. It is resisted damage, doesn't matter, we can knock them, and let's see what they're going to have in the back now. We are going to be in a tough spot because we're debuffed and they can align themselves, but after a little bit of lag, we will see the Feraligatr coming in here and getting hit straight away again from a wild charge, boom there, and we're gonna have the Empoleon in the back. Our only win con is to catch a move, and we are not going to be able to do that, and so sadly it is going to be a loss here. Maybe I could have avoided this if I shared the crunch in the beginning, but it is what it is. Let's move on to the next opponent. Final battle for today. There were a lot of wins that I cut out by the way as well, and I encountered, this is like the first one they see here, but I encountered like 4 or 5 Ferrothorns in the lead for me, which is lovely for this team, which is like really good for us. But yeah, I cut out most of them. They were quite easy games usually as well. I try to kind of focus here on the battles that I put in there as well to have some more difficult ones or some where we can land some Focus Blasts. But yeah, as you can see, we can knock out the opponent's Ferrothorn. We had to use a shield, but in comes a pretty awkward Pokemon for our team. It's going to be the Sableye. In comes also the Surf from us, and this is going to be quite lovely as it can go for the Wild Charge, I think, on the CMP tie. This is going to be able to get the shield from the opponent. We're gonna let this move go through. We're debuffed here anyway, and so the opponent is gonna go for a foul play. Not going to knock us out because they're going to, undercharge this one, which is quite smart. But we can go for the Rock Slide. Rock Slide is hopefully going to be able to connect. Let's find out here. It is going to get the shield from the opponent, so we're forced to use our final shield as well, and this can be quite tricky. They still have another Pokemon in the back end, so we have to hope that our Victini is going to be able to win this battle for us. Let's see here what's going to be in the back. It's going to be another Diogong. They have the super effective drill run against us, and this can be very scary. But you know what can also be very scary? If this doesn't knock them out, we still have the Focus Blast. And so, for the final battle for today, let's say I'll see you later to that Diogong, because that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.